Good evening, truth seekers. Today is Monday, right? Yeah, Monday. And we got a great live stream for you tonight. It's part of a 3 or 4 video series. It's going to be a video series that I think is going to challenge the norm, especially when we talk about the mind control programming that most people are familiar with, called MK Ultra. But we're going to go a little deeper. We're going to uncover some things that I have found in some of my research about the Monarch Programming. And one of the things that I'm going to do is break down this whole part of this. And it's going to take us 3 or 4 videos. So just keep in mind, make sure that you note that we're going to be doing this over the next several days, and then we'll do a part 2, which is going to be part of the Illuminati. But now remember, this will be on Forbidden Knowledge and it'll be live. So if you want to catch the part 2 of this, go over to Forbidden Knowledge tomorrow at 8 p.m. and then come back here Wednesday for part 3 of the part of this conversation. It's a real deep conversation, so make sure you don't have kids really watching tonight, because I'm going to say a few things that maybe be on the borderline of things, and it's going to start all the way at the beginning. So also, I want to forewarn you, if some of these things become familiar to you or trigger certain things, then it is true that we all probably have experienced some type of this programming via television, radio, or some form of media, some form of generational programming that our parents and things thought it was the proper way of teaching us when we were part of this system that has been programming us for day one. Now, where does this go back to? This is the programming of the Illuminati. The Illuminati system that comes from Freemason, and then also this is going to take you all the way back to the 13 bloodlines that we're going to be talking about all the time. And then from there, it takes us into the reptilian world of things. So it's going to be a thought-provoking show tonight. And as I go through the notes and everything else, pretty much, I just wanted to prepare for you, or get you prepared. Now, as we get ready to get started, let me make a couple of quick announcements for you. As you know, once again, I've said it already, that we set your notifications so that you can get when we go live. Also, make sure that you know that we're live streaming 5 days a week now. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, everything is live. Monday here, Tuesday on Forbidden Knowledge, Wednesday here, Thursday, every live at 8 p.m. now is going to be in an uncensored area, which will take on some of the conversations that we're having here, and back on Friday. And if you are going to get access there, this is where you will find the uncensored area, Patreon, Truth versus Authority, and the links will be posted there. And last but not least, we're sponsored by Fresh Mouth Club, where you can get the Nano Silver. Yeah, Nano Silver toothpaste, and along with hydrogen bottles and other things. So anyway, so make sure you take their support them, because they support us. It is an affiliate link. Now, with that being said, let's get deep into our conversation so that we could talk about what we're going to be talking about tonight already. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is set up the conversation, especially when it gets down to the Illuminati and this mind control, and I'll go over that with you. And I did bring my spectacles if I'm going to need them. I don't think I'm going to, but if I do, I will put these. Oh, they got a dirty lens, but I still be able to see with them. I'll put those on if necessary as I go through what we're going through. So I hope you had a great weekend and everything else. But listen, the first thing I want to teach you is a few terms that you're going to hear throughout these few videos and in the future as we talk more about this Illuminati, as we talk more about more than what people think is just a triangle. People, this is really more deeper. And I could say word sinister as well, because there is a plot, there is a plan, and it's not a plan of tomorrow. It's not a plan of next week. It's a generational plan, and also has been implemented for quite some time. All of us has been subject to this mind control once we go deeper into what I'm talking about. Most people think it's just on the surface, that you're going to be in a room and they're going to be flashing lights. No, this thing is a more deeper program, and it's been more scientific proven. Now, the first thing I want to talk to you about real quickly when we talk about these glossary of terms, we want to talk about the word altar real quickly as I set the foundation. And remember, this is a 3-part, so we'll be just going on. So it's going to continue because this mind control process has certain steps that it takes in order to mind control. Now, what you're going to find, which I think is alarming, is that it starts not just when we are young kids, but in some cases through these parents and stuff of the Illuminati, when they were even a fetus. Yeah, you heard me, a fetus. And I'm going to go through these tactics. Now, there's things I shouldn't be talking about. Some of this should be in our uncensored area. But once again, the altar is the part of the programming, and it's disassociated part of the mind, which has a separate identity. So just know that this is going to be a concrete term that we're going to be using throughout these next few videos. But then, of course, this is what the programmers do. They program you with an altar. So just visually, again, back behind your mind, that is separated. Now, the good part about this, there is none. But the intriguing part about this is that they go through the fact of these altars may have a identity with it as well, and they need to program this identity with what they call an altar history. Now, this history will also ensure that the shadow altars, is what they're calling it, will provide a full range of emotions, accessible emotions. So this programming is to make sure this is a complete different personality of an individual, yourself or whoever that is there. And so this is a real challenging part for us to really think about it from there. Now, the other part of this will be, this is real important. So now we're going to get into like a few things. The alter identity, here's how you're going to notice, especially when we start seeing this in public. But once again, I forewarn, if it triggers anything, then you should be able to know that this is something that has happened in your past or currently. The alter identity may be a gem, a rock, a tape recorder, a poodle, a white kitten, a dove, a horse, or even think of itself as a person or a demon. So this altered personality does that. Now, I'm not sure if this is associated with, I have friends, or only one or two, that their personality is off the chart, but when you talk to them, it's almost in this first person. And I'm just going to use the name Janice, and that's not her name, but she always say, well, Janice don't do this. Janice don't go like this. Janice doesn't go this way. And it's almost like you're talking to two different people, because they are two different people. This person is telling you what Janice doesn't do, even though I'm looking at Janice, but that is not who the same. But anyway, I'm not sure if that's part of this, but it's just something that I think we've all have experienced over time. And you may do this yourself. And like I said, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's just your perception and how things go. Now, the programmers would also what they call coded alters with these programs, which is what they call 169 principle of altering personality. Now, in Illuminati systems, these alters would consist of 3 placed on a pedestal together in what they call a triad goddess of gods. We talked about that in the last pretty videos. So that moon goddess, or the triple goddess symbol, and we talked about it before, is part of the Illuminati ritual. Now, what's important about this is that it is power that we can possess, but oftentimes, I've said it before, is that they keep us away from that when they talk about aging and all this, because the triple goddess goes through these different. But anyway, that is something I want you to look up. Now it's getting ready to get a little deeper. The other programming word that we're going to be using, and I'm going to go through this pretty quickly so we can get on into the context of the conversation. Beta. Beta is the second Greek letter, but it also represents the sexual modules or models, or what we call the, now I'm going to use the word S from here on, so you will know that that's what I'm talking about. So it also creates what they call the S alters that program. Now, this is the part of what they consider the primitive brain, and involves this programming, and it's done at an early age through S abuse. And this event will be used to anchor the programming. So oftentimes S abuse happens that they are doing this on purpose to anchor the program. And like I said, this is all trauma based. And people, this is their playbook that I'm going through. And Thursday in the private, I will mention where all this comes from so that you all can kind of look at it yourself. And I'm going to give you a forewarning as I will put that on the screen here, that it is not for the faint of hearts, because this is real deal. And again, it could possibly trigger something. So boom, that's my little thing, branding right there. It is something we definitely need to make sure that's that. I know. I thought that was cute. The other part of this will be that when they talk about these betas, now you know who they are. The betas also receive the worst kind of abuse, far beyond what most people imagine and can even picture. Now, hear this out. Check this out. Beta alters, again, if this triggers you, generally see themselves as cats. Now, you can say, well, Roderick, I haven't been in no MK Ultra program. I didn't say that. Oh, I haven't been. No, this is done in real time, real life, through TV, maybe media, through parenting. Some people's parents have been taught this and they don't even know it, that they're triggering this and are teaching this down into the generations. Another term, so that when we say this with the Illuminati, is called councils. They go by a whole lot of other names. So we got one group is MJ12. We have the 5412 committee. We have the 303 committee, the 40 committee. We've heard that before, the PI 40 committee, policy planning group, PCG. And then they have the Council of 3, the Council of 5, the Council of 7, the Council of 9, the Grand Juror Council, and the Council of 300. Now, we know where that word came from, the Anunnaki stuff, but also the Committee of 500, known as the Fortune 500. So these are terms of Illuminati. These are group names, and they go and are hiding in all of these different group names. Now, the next thing that we want to go to, in order to program these children to start there, they need an identity, or this particular person within the Illuminati is called the deliverance ministry, or the deliverance ministry. This is how the mind control is really done. It's not it begins there, where that person will be the one that is having that role. Now, this term delivered ministry, it also can kind of take any person. So when you hear me talk about it, it can be a group, it can be a mechanism, it can be the system itself. So just keep in mind, as you hear us say this over the next 3 or 4 days, what I'm talking about. The ministry is a natural outgrowth of life in harmony and fellowship. Now, they say it's supposed to be in fellowship with the Yahweh God. Now, I have that book on Yahweh, and I still need to read it to kind of see why would the Illuminati compose or put this within their program, a system of monarch mind control, that I don't know. And it's something I want to look at. But again, I want you to understand that this program is not to be confused with exorcism. So when they do this delivery system to activate this, to bring this thing up, it's not an exorcism. So an exorcism, traditionally, it's going to be something that, you would talk about with witchcraft or with spells, and it'd be also with a lot of other things that go along with that. But the deliverance is a totally different, and it's supposedly be, in their case, something more of a divinely operation that happens through inspired faith. So now we got religion involved, a doctrinal type of religion that is explaining or getting the person that this has been done to respect it, so to speak, like in the name of God, right? So that is also will blow you away once you start thinking about that. Now, when you get down to the delivery ministry, might perhaps that person teaches about forgiveness and how they can renounce the oath, or how to apply what they say Jesus Christ's atoning blood to their life. Now, this person also finds deliverance through biblical and spiritual principles rather than the efficacy of the ritual or what they consider the hocus pocus spell. Now, if I'm losing you in this, it's getting ready to come home to you as we get going to where we are. The other part about that is that the ministers learn more about mind control, and as they grow stronger in their walk with the Almighty God. Now that's kind of weird there. They're walking in the Almighty God, but at the same time, they're learning mind control so that they're perfect what they're trying to instill in everyone else. The Illuminati, as you would heard, most of you would think that Illuminati, okay, is this group, and of course they hold in a triangle. The Illuminati are the 13 original bloodlines, okay? The 13 original bloodlines, which go all the way back, like I said, if you want to go back to, of course, we can say the Anunnaki, the Nephilims, to where man were bioengineered. Well, I can't say engineered, but our genetics were altered to become slaves. And then they had the term what they call blue bloods at the time. And the blue blood actually was the fact that some of them at that back then had blue blood. Now, they all try to make sure they trace that lineage to see who has the most purest form of blue blood. And you will hear these terms in TV shows. They name shows. They all about bloodlines and stuff. I think there's one with this police family. This stuff they use this knowledge or information as they try to put it out there to the public, but then they put it within form of media and everything else. The other part is Monarch Programming, which is what we're going to be discussing. And most people heard about it as MK Ultra. Now, MK Ultra was the CIA's program, but before them was the Illuminati, who controls the CIA, of course. We'll get to that. But then also this program was done 100 years before. Now, the reason that it is called Monarch is that, and the reason why they go through this in a generational point, this is really significant. So grab your head around this one. And why, even when Brother Joseph were here, when we was talking about certain things that gets passed down, and I was telling you a story of the she-wolf and how her father was and everything else without giving names. And the concern was, would this be passed down genetically, or was it subject to why there were certain things happening in her life, or could it be going down toward the children? And Brother Joseph, if you remember, he was like, yeah, and I agree. And this is before me getting deep into this, because we think of generational curses is the terms that we would use. But when you think about it from the Monarch Programming, they know it's generation. And how they figure this out is when scientists realized that the monarch butterfly was one of the species here on Earth that passed down memory. You hear me? Memory through the next generation. And they figured that out when they started noticing that these butterflies, that it was captured in one part of the country, maybe it was taken to a lab somewhere else. And once the caterpillars became a butterfly, they will up and leave. And they would fly all the way back to where their origination. And they couldn't figure out, well, how would they have known that? Nobody gave them a map. Nobody told them where you were born. It's not like a flock of birds just going south for the winter to be born. They could go anywhere where they were, and almost like they had a memory to where they was born. And that's when the scientist says, wait a minute, we need to not only do this. Now, it makes sense when you start thinking about the extraterrestrials and why, and I've said it before, where they would come and abduct families and continue into that family or generational families because of the bloodline. And if it's something that they was tampering with, or maybe there is something within this family lineage that they have been experimenting on, and knowing that the kids are passing down this DNA, then they know to keep looking for that generations because they have some type of scientific reason. So the Monarch, the scientists within the CIA Monarch program, not the CIA, but the Monarch Programming, decided that, hey, now we need certain children, certain lineages, certain everything else to perform what we're talking about. Now, the term system is what we're going to be talking about here. Is used several ways, but just remember that the system is what we're talking about when we get to multiple personalities, or what they call this, the MPD, which would be dissociative identity disorder. So we'll talk about that. The New World Order is going to be a word. You've all heard that before. I'm not going to go into that. Switching is part of the fragment programming. I said that before. This is when that that whatever the keywords or whatever happens, get the person to switch alters. So whatever's programmed that's been lying in the back for years becomes up front, and now they're a whole different person. And a lot of you have experienced that when it comes down to that. Let me check my chats here because I'm not watching the chats. Well, anyway, so all right, so okay, Denisha says she read a book about blue blood that was based around vampires. All right, so and let me hit on that for a minute. The vampires, if you think about it, even in the reptilian world, and we've heard stories of them drinking blood and different things, and then you've seen in the movies in the vampires, I've said this before, where if a vampire wanted to know the memory of another vampire, or how when the elders was born and replaced with the others, they would drink the blood so that they can have the memories of the last 1,000 years of how the other elder ruled, and they can keep things going and already know. So that there you go. So that these books are coexistent. So now that I've got the terms together for you, now we're getting ready to get a little deep. Let's get into the selection process, how they begin this mind control programming, where it all goes. Philly Cats and my sister used to switch personality on a dime. Once I asked, "Who are you?" and she said you wouldn't like to know. There you go. So, and here's the deal. I'm saying this. Her sister may not have been part of some government program. Her sister could have seen it and been programmed through television, children's shows, things that we have no clue. Now, the Monarch is going to be represented by a lot of these different celebrities. They do the one eye, and a lot of them use the butterfly. They're put it under their eyes. I've just seen a young group. Now, all of you probably seen the sisters. They dance in unison or whatever. They just released their clothing line, but now they're synchronized, and now it's their fourth sister, the young, and they're beautiful sisters, and the parents, I'm sure, just as proud. They released their new clothing line, and it's the little blue butterfly, right? And we might think it's harmless and cute, and they may think it's harmless and cute, but whoever designed it knew that they was going to activate something by putting this thing on their clothing and all of this, because that is a true hidden element that's there, and we'll get into that pretty much. Now, let's get down to the science of it and how they select and prepare the victims. A, the selection based on genetics and dissociative abilities. Okay, we'll get deeper in that. B, they want to make sure availability. And C, mental and physical features. I know you might say, Roderick, what it has to do with it. Well, we're going to learn this as we go, what it has to do with it. One of the primary reasons that the Monarch Control Program was named, once again, that program, because of the butterfly. This is why the genetics, part A, is really important. Now, the Monarch program is based on the Illuminati and Nazi goals to create a master race, was in part of through genetics. If you remember, that was the whole thing Hitler was talking about when we had the first brother that ran track, and he had the master race. It's supposed to be in all these, or now we can call them super soldiers and everything else. And this knowledge can be passed down genetically, which it is. Then it's important that the parents be found that can pass the knowledge on to the victim selected for the Monarch mind control. That's a whopper. It's not just every parent's out there. These people are constantly checking blood. They're checking medical records. They're looking for something all the time so that they identify some type of genetics through all of us, through people that they know have the ability to pass down memory to the next generation, and then they make sure they go after and harness and get and all of that stuff. So it could be any of us. It could be anywhere, or how things are going. You probably said it. Man, you act just like your dad. You act just like your mom. Your face, you doing the same twitch that your mom did, and you got people saying things to parents and they never met them. And you'd be like, what? And we've had people that have transplants, and all of a sudden they're having dreams and seeing and feeling the things that they got from the transferee, and was it passed through the blood or the memory of all of this? They look for stuff like that. And so, once again, the knowledge is passed to those victims selected by the mind control. Now, the primary important factor for trauma-based mind control is the ability to be disassociative or associate, right? They want people who gets out on their own, and it was discovered that the ability is passed genetically from generation to generation. Now, here's something that's going to throw you for a loop here. The American Indians, they talked about this, the tribes who had traumatic rituals at the time, dances, and who would wait motionlessly for hours in hunting. They said the children of the fakirs, which is in India, who would sleep on a bed of nails or who walk on hot coals. Children of yogas, they were skilled in yoga, who would have total control of their body in a trance. Tibetan Buddhists and children of Adams and Byzantios and other ones had the ability to disassociate, meaning they can separate from reality, be by themselves, and I think this is one of the main teachers of meditation that they teach is so that people can be disassociative. And so that's something that I think is really important. Now, the children of the multi-generational abuse are also good for dissociation. So there's people who've been abused, and then all of a sudden their parents was abused, and then the parents is abusing the children. This is all being passed down genetically some way or some form or fashion, so that they say. And so again, if this triggers anything within your life, then begin to look back. And then reach out to me, because I found some other literature that deprograms some of this Monarch programming or help you. And remember, once you're at a certain age, and we'll talk about that, it's a lot easier to come out from under that trauma-based programming. And they're saying that the children of those multinational or generational abuse are good. The Illuminati families and European occultists went to India and Tibet to study occultism within their Eastern philosophy. Now, the Europeans learned yoga, tantra, yoga, meditation, trances, and other methods to disassociate. These skills are passed to their children via genetics. Test a run when the children is about 18 months old to determine if they can dissociate enough to be selected for the programming or not. Now, mind control slaves are created for different purposes, the hierarchy and non-hierarchy purposes. The Illuminati has created these mind control slaves who are to function within the Illuminati hierarchy system. And you're gonna hear a lot about this, because you're gonna see it in plain. It's happening today, so you'll know. These slaves will usually have their genealogies hidden and will be created to have excellent cover lives to ensure that they're not detected. So they already know who these people are. They already know who the bloodlines are. They have already taken some of them that you're going to find out from their parents. Maybe they took them from the parents that was in some court system that was deemed, oh, she's a drug abuser, we need the kid. And maybe they created these things. And this is probably, and I'm not saying why we have so much stuff about these S trafficking and all of this stuff, and kids and all these, they're looking for this stuff, and they got to find it within children. And it's sad to say, but that's the vulnerable side of things when it comes down to all of this genetics and tampering. And it's crazy, man. We're in a world that it is just not what we think it is. It's just truly not. Now, another part of this is that these slaves usually, again, have their genealogies hidden. Now, they will also be given multifunctional programming, which usually will use to help program other slaves. And the abuse would not be as physical and visible as it would be on bodies of slaves who are not born to part of the Illuminati elite. So there you hear it right there. This is mind control stuff, right? Now, members of the Moras, what they call Moras, the Illuminati, the Luciferian elite, will have undergone as much trauma as other slaves. However, the torture scars and the controls are better to conceal. Now, keep in mind, Most of all the Illuminati goes through this. This is why we see the celebrities and everything. They all have to go through this programming to become part of the Illuminati, to be controlled, to do the things in public, the things to control the masses. Nobody misses the control system. They have to put their own children through the control system to qualify to move the next generation. Everybody goes through the rituals of control. Usually the breakdown, and we'll talk about this later, when the control altar fails. Once they get about 30 years old, the breakdown is what I'm reading in this literature. You will see they're shaving their heads. They're doing all this public shaming, all of this stuff. And where do you see that at? You saw it with Cassie. You saw it with Britney Spears. You saw it with all these people. So this is part of the rituals that go through. And there's many others that we've seen in plain sight when this happens to them. Okay. But this is part of what we know when it gets down to it. Another part is the Illuminati and other organizations. And we'll get into, now let me back up. These children will often receive lavish experiences as well as talks to convince them that they are part of the elite. By the way, their body scars will show up better under black lights. That is the same black lights that are used in clubs. So when you see these wealthy people out there, these elites, they are trauma basing their children. They're doing this on purpose. It's probably why we always see some of them wind up in some institution or sent off to boarding school or some place where some rigid training is being done. It's like they all know to do it. And you will learn as we go further is that there is a part where they have to give up the firstborn to do this, to be part. This is happening over and over. This is why I want some of us to begin as researchers behind the scenes to start tracking backwards or upwards to some of this stuff, because again, it's happening in plain sight. The program to individuals who are simply expendable. Now, these are S slaves, so y'all know what that is, who are used up and then they're unalive very early in life, and they also are one-time sabotagers. They're called breeders, soldiers, drug carriers, and so forth. The bodies of these people will often show visible torture scars. The expendable are the children of parents who were blackmailed into turning their children over to the CIA. And this is also the hidden by the power of the National Security Act. I mean, these people, everybody's involved. These are children who have been sold by pedophile fathers or pornographic parents. Program masters program them with the expectation that they will be thrown from the freedom train when they get 30. We will talk about that Thursday in the Uncensored, what that really means, thrown from the freedom train. I've hinted a little bit when they become 30. We will discuss that Thursday in the Uncensored live stream at 8 o'clock the same time, but on Thursday. So I'll go back over some of this, but we're going to really go deep on that stuff, because that's something that, as I will put up my screen, that would be need to go in that particular area, that when we talk about what exactly thrown from the freedom train means. And okay, so we will do that. All right. So, and even though I have it right in front of me, I just don't think it's something that we're going to do. Also, the CIA and the Illuminati are skilled in blackmailing parents to give up their kids. And they will watch the male, or whoever, like, let's say it's a dad or something that's watching porn or whatever. Or they will look at pedophiles and murderers who abuse their children and are warned that they will go to prison for a long time if they don't cooperate by selling their children into the mind control slavery. You see, that's deep enough right there. They know what they're doing genetically. They know hypothetically. And like I said, if you have been through any of this, I'm not trying to trigger or anything, but I'm just saying that sometimes that this is the system that they're used. When they find and look through the court systems or the systems and they see that this person have done this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to get into why they choose those type of people in just 30 seconds from now, and it's just despicable. Okay. Ministers who I told you about for that, and they're often to set up the betas. Remember who I told you the betas was the slaves, and then they would blackmail them too. The minister do not want to lose their status and profession via the scandals. Okay, so they'll agree to turn their children over to the CIA to work with them. The Illuminati like to blackmail those ministers when they are finished with their seminary schooling and committed to the ministry about 33 years of age. You see the system that's going here. So when we hearing all this stuff in these young boys at these men or all, now we starting to realize that this is not just some ugly act. Now, before this, now I'm giving you that this is all part of their system. And I know it sounds whatever, but this is real stuff. This came from, let me not say that. I'll talk about that Thursday. But where I'm going with this is real stuff, real programming. And we see it in plain sight every day when we hear these stories. But we don't know that this is real stuff that is set up for that and pretty much. And so that's something that I think is, pretty weird. Okay, so listen. The ideal of having nothing, so when they go through and blackmail these people at seminary school, the ideal of having nothing to fall back on after they have committed their entire life or profession is too much for the weak-willed men. And so they commit these little things against these kids, and they buckle under the threats. And if they don't buckle under the threat, resulting in the consequences, they will be removed from the ministry. So once they got these people into this doctrine, and it's almost like people used to say that, and they used to say this, allegedly, that what Puffy was doing was apparently something that happened to him, was his payment into the system. And then, so, of course, he now initiating other people into the system and perpetuating the mind control tactics, which, if you think about it, all the stories that we're hearing and how people will go asking for money and then they're getting blackmailed and all of these high elite people. So it moved from the Illuminati, and then it moved into the music industry, and then it moved into a tactic that they started using against other artists and everything else to control them. And if you watch the documentary, which I'm not trying to promote, one lady said that she found out when somebody called her and said, "Hey, I saw your blackmail tape." And she was like, your tape. And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And she didn't even know she had been taped, and now all of a sudden, when you do know you've been taped, what do you do? What if you do if you some mega person star and you went to one of those parties and got drugged and then did hideous acts, wake up and find out that, hey, we got you on tape. Yeah, oh yeah, we watched you $30 billion at the box office, but this right here is going to make even more money, or you're not going to get nothing else. So I need you to show up at the next party and be ready. Who wouldn't do it? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Now you hearing they were doing it. So people were not going there on purpose to get caught up in this mix, but once they got caught up in the mix, now the power of this programming begins to program them to be slaves. And you heard it all through all the allegations. They were slaves. And so he was up enough that someone taught him, and again, if it happened to him, he's passing it on to other people. All right. So I want you to be sitting down for this statement I'm about to say. And this is what I call really bad, but I'm going to make a personal statement from my personal experience. And now when I start reading this, I look back on it. So it's a personal experience. The type of fathers who are most preferred by the programmers to offer up their children for programming is the pedophiles. If a father, and listen to their logic, and it makes sense. If a father, why father? They didn't say mother. See, this is the part where yes, we understand society needs both parents, men and women. Okay. And I hope y'all record what I'm about to say. This is why the power has always been to separate the household, because there's a power within the father. Now, this is Illuminati mind control programming. They know they need the separation of the father to pull this off. Okay. Not the mother. So I'm not downing none of the women here at all, please. And if you're thinking that, don't. I'm saying they know there's something about the child being disassociative from the father, or once again, the fathers who is most preferred in this program to offer up the children for programming, once again, is the pedophiles. Here's their logic. If a father will abuse his own little baby girl, then the programmers know that that man has no conscience. So I'm saying, if this triggers anybody, bless you. And I understand this, because my personal experience is this happened to a person that I was with, and to their family by this man. Okay. Now, I was dealing with this for years with this person, and not knowing that this until the sit down was made in the discovery of, telling the story. But the key was this: I had 2 daughters of my own. Okay. And I remember this person, I said something about protecting my 2 daughters, because I remember there was a church, everybody knows it's in Dallas, a real big church. And I had another friend who had been, there was 2 different women, that one, that this had happened. Well, they had this singles ministry, and she kept asking me to invite the daughter. She was like, I want to take your daughters to it. And I was like, no, they can't go. I'd already knew the rumors of the 2 young men that was over this ministry, who are big time pastors right now. And when she started telling me, the girl I was seeing, and these are 2 different people, somebody I was with and somebody I was seeing, these are some years apart. She started telling me how she was dating or used to mess around with the pastor, and how he was messing with all of them. They was in there, and there was a abstinence class. Get this. So the people were going to an abstinence class preached by the preacher to make sure that they can withstand from this problem that they had through these sex things. But the ministers in there were preying on them easy targets. And I was like, do you think I'm gonna let my daughter go there? And it was crazy. Moving along to the relationship years later, I was talking to her about this, and I said, sweetie, and she made the comment that because I had 2 daughters, was I doing things to my kid? Now, in a normal circumstances, I would have been, this would have been an MDK, murder, death, whatever y'all want to call it. Like, what are you freaking kidding? I'm here to protect mine by all means necessary. Okay. But I had some empathy for the moment. And I said, why would you say such a thing? And she said to me, because I thought this is what all men do. I was floored. I was so floored. But at this point, I knew I needed, at this time, I was a real praying. I need to pray for this person. I'm with this person. And now I'm in some water that I can't tread. I'm not qualified to handle such things. This is bigger than me. This is way bigger. And there was a lot of stuff going on. But I'm saying to you, these things happen. Now, I'm not saying that this is, a part of the programming. But once again, they said that the programmers know if a man has done this to his baby girl, he has no conscience. This father involvement in a criminal activity, therefore, his vulnerability can be continually increased, and they want men who they believe will not develop any qualms later on in life about what they have done. A man who waits until his daughter's a teenager to do this to her is usually esteemed to have too much conscience for the programmers. So they know if the same guy or man is going to do this, if he waits till his daughter is older, then they don't want that one, because that means that he can come back and ask for forgiveness or try to be forgiven. They want the ones who do this when these are babies, because they know you're a freaking monster. You're a monster. Okay. And if I'm talking to anybody out there, you a fucking monster. Okay. And then they need to hunt it down, period. Period. Okay. So they know that if a person would do this to a child, that these are the ones that they want. Okay. They want this. If it's going to wait till the kid is older, we don't want that one. That one got a little more conscience in it, but they want the ones that has no moral compass. Okay. And hope I didn't trigger anything or anybody, but if this is a little too rough, we got more to go. Let me know. I'll pause and I'll try to be a little more delicate in some of the stuff that we're going to go through. We got a few more pages. If you want me to stop, give me an alert. Otherwise, y'all let me know to keep going. Give me a thumbs up to keep going, that y'all receiving this. And this is for one of 3 videos. Okay. So tomorrow we will be doing part 2. But yet it won't be here. It'll be on Forbidden Knowledge. We'll be live. I usually upload a pre-recorded video. So I want all the truth seekers to come over to Forbidden Knowledge tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Put in the chat that y'all are here, because that audience is different. But I want, y'all, there's some intersects, but I want to know y'all are here for part 2. We'll be back here for part 3. Then we'll go into the private area to do some uncensored. And then, of course, we'll be live Friday. Fair enough? But let me know if I can keep going. All right. So we got some thumbs up. I'm going to keep going. All right. So another part of big distinction must be made between the hierarchy monarch slaves and the non-hierarchy monarch slaves. The reason there's a big distinction is that they're not programmed the same way. Now, there is a place how they create the monarch slave. Let's go over to some of the distinctions so that you'll know here. And it's also to know that the slaves who function outside the Illuminati hierarchy, these are a different type of slave, but it's important to stress that the label monarch is used in this whole conversation, so you know where we're going with what they call modern-based trauma, mind control. Whether the Illuminati control have slave technically, the monarch records or out actual monarch program data files that's kept in a computer and merely a technicality. So this is scientific mythology that we're talking about, and how they're doing this stuff. So another part of this is they have these different fronts that was being used already. And they talked about the state mental hospitals, McGill Psychiatric Training Network, consisting of 8 hospitals, St. Mary's, we hear a lot about that, NASA, and the list goes on and on. When the Monarch program started, the top men were Illuminati originally. And then all of a sudden it broke into a lot of areas. And then, of course, one of the guys that was over it was Joseph Mengele, if that's how you pronounce it. And they're saying today, this guy was so prominent that there are still people that call him daddy today that have been programmed and everything else. Y'all give Rashad a thumbs up and we can go into that. Now, one of the things that we will go through, and I'm going to skip some of this on purpose because I want to make sure that this needs to be in this area, the uncensored area. So I'm going to put that to the side. It's a little deep to be doing on the open airwaves there. One of the things that they thought about was that some of these children, and let me take that off. Hang on. So y'all give Rashad a shout out there. All right, let me do that. Yeah, and so, well, I mean, no, it's not. I'm gonna put that up what Hans just said. Everyone have a consciousness, so it's a matter of time before they understand their own. That is not true. It is half true. Everyone has a consciousness, but it is not a matter of time that they find out, because there's people that just never, it is what it is. They are who they are, and they do what they do and done what they've done. And the consciousness, and they don't have it. You got people that right before they're put to sleep, finally, still don't give a damn about what they did to some hideous person and chopped them up 27 times and into itty bitty pieces. They ain't repenting shit. You know, they can care less. They're going into the afterlife with Anubis to do it again and come back doing it again. That's what they feel. So I get what you're saying, but it's not, he says, men, Leia. Okay. Lay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, yeah. And it's one of those things that we would think. So, yeah, everybody got a conscience, but no, they do not come to science. You just heard it. The programming is that reason. They don't want somebody, if they already know this, it's a scientific data for them. So if somebody was to wait and do something to their child when they're older, then they know that this person would be most likely to come around. But if somebody doing something to a baby, they're not. And unless I'm speaking to somebody out there who know yourself and you say, I came around, then you know you, monster. Okay. All right. So another part of this is they use the slave crosses many organization boundaries with the overall network. We heard about the Epstein stuff. We knew that they was picking children. Everybody knew this. Everybody knew the power for that. And those are the things that's out there. Again, the use of slaves in the organization boundaries with networks. So if a slave is to be used as a Delta model, now the Delta was another term that I skipped for a reason. Delta is part of the Illuminati program. And if you've heard Delta before, you've heard it in a military term. The Delta term was every bit of a group of four, and all of these Delta teams, that's how they operate. These are wet programming of assassination programming. This is what they do. There's not a Delta team. In fact, if you watch the movie Lioness, right? Have you ever seen that? One of the freaking best. I can't wait for another season. I mean, that whoever created that show, they had me binge watching it again. And the last series, the last episode of the last one was nail biting. I watch that, still get emotional every time. But the Lioness, there was a scene that Zoe, and that's one of the main characters, and the government's like, we need somebody to go in and blah blah blah. And she looked at the person that said, no, when they call us, she said no, and the guy was like, well, can y'all, be a little delicate? He said, no, when y'all calling us, it ain't nothing about being delicate. Somebody's going to leave here. When we go in, we kill, period. It's not even no other options. You know what I'm saying? She was like, we the Delta team. We don't, so if you try to pick something, you need something, somebody to handle something delicately, you need to get somebody else, because that's not what we do. When we're called, we go in blazing, period. And we ain't talking about it, and they do in all means necessary. So this programming is the bomb. That show is the bomb. I mean, oh my God. So anyway, so they are selected for strength and dexterity, if I'm pronouncing it right. The Delta Force is an Army elite unit made up of Monarch slaves. They know this. And if they are to operate as a beta model, which is an S slave, they will be chosen if they can master the technique. Now, occasionally, they might, in some circumstances, be selected for how pretty the programmers expect the child to become. Remember, they're choosing this already. But listen to this, though. But some parents have produced good-looking children or actually sought out for to bear children to sell into mind control slavery in the freedom train system. However, listen to this, though. Vastly more important, the beta sex, are there for their ability to program to have charm, seductive skills, charisma, and creativity. Beauty. Now, here's the good part about this. And ladies, this is one education for all of us to know what I'm about to say next. This is scientific mind control programming. So when you start wondering why this person cheated, or how did she get this man, or how he get her, and how all this is right here from the Illuminati training, which I will disclose in private Thursday, so y'all can all have it. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and the programmers can put almost any kind of body to use as an slave, long as the person is gifted with the skills. Now, I will tell you right now, and I know I'm going to lose 2 or 3 of you. I will hope to meet one of those, because they, judging by this programming, they have some skills. Like that movie, Eddie Murphy movie where old boy called his wife, talking about, ain't coming home no more, or whatever. Hey, baby, this is what I ain't coming home no more. And Sunshine, remember she said she could throw it up. She got some whatever so good. I will meditate for before I leave this earth to to experience. And I ain't got nobody to call to say ain't coming home no more. But if you're gonna be on the other end of that phone, hey, this is Roderick, what's up? I ain't doing a podcast no more. Ooh, soup, boy! I tell you what, that would be something funny. All right, I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm kidding. I'm sure some of you got magic, but according to this, they give them some. Yeah, Harlem Night says what it is. They give them some skill that's beyond comprehensions when it comes to sex. Okay, and so we're not just talking normal, whatever. Get up here and do your thing, or go down there and do your whatever. They have some stuff that is out of this world, supposedly, that they're trained, and is why these wealthy people can't wait to go to this place and endure this type of programming. And whoa, do they have to be programmed for that? Oh my God. Y'all make sure y'all hit the like button if you like. Let me take this damn, y'all, how come nobody tell me this uncensored shit been up here all this damn time? I'd be goddamn. All right, my bad. All that time it's been sitting up on screen. Philly Cat said you need to meet one when you hit that multi-millionaire status. Hey, let me tell you something. It's coming. It is coming. I am a multi-millionaire. I'm living that lifestyle. I'm doing, those are my affirmations, and things are happening. And yeah, I would hope that I would that the woman I'm with was trained. Is she just off the deal now? But she says, hey, baby, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my past life. And I'm like, what's your past life? Well, I used to be a Monarch slave. And I know it's going to be hard for you to fathom. Now, first of all, how many bodies? And she says there's been 1,000 of them. Then, we got problems. But she says I only had 2 or 3, people that came to see me constantly. But yet, but I got all this skill, and now I just want to be giving it to you. I'm gonna consider. We'll be like, hey, don't tell nobody. And I ain't gonna talk about it at the barbershop. Hey man, I got an ex-Monarch slave at home. What? Man, the things that happens in my house. Oh my. Yeah. So she thought she's so wide you could park a 747. Yeah, that's, you don't want that when you're gonna fall in and shit and never come back. Be like, hello. Hey, baby. Yeah, baby. Yeah. You don't want them echoes. You hear some echoes, start running. All right, so I lost my whole outline. Shit, messing with Philly Cat, y'all. All right, so anyway, we're gonna go back to, like I said, that the eyes are in the beholder. Okay. And again, almost any slave can fit somewhere into the script of the Illuminati, New World Order, Crime Syndicate, or the movies that we call it. And that is something that I will say pretty much. I place in I'll say the movies, the P movies, are one of the things that happens too. We're not talking about the Playboy type P. We're talking, again, horrible atrocities that are so sick that anything done in the concentration camps or penny stuff, they say. But for instance, it takes a little acting ability or beauty to have what happens next, that we will talk about, a ritual that unalives people doing the ritual. So we're going to talk about that Thursday. So let me make sure I get the note, because you got to hear this crap. I'm going to say that we have to. I want to say it out loud, and there's no way. We already on probation. There are different types of slaves, but the Illuminati wants the beta alters, which are sharp, talented, skilled, and resourceful. The beta slaves, these women, and probably men, they're sharp, they're talented, they're skilled, and they're resourceful. Could you imagine having that situation tonight in your life? I'm talking to you. Go in the other room and see if your mate is sharp, talented, skilled, and resourceful. And I'm not talking about because they have a job and they're the executive assistants of a company. I'm not saying that. And that's kind of bad. We shouldn't be putting both of these together. But now, once again, to make sure that these minds are developed properly, this is where it gets really bad, okay? All right, so make sure you know kids watching. The baby will be interacted with so that those areas of the brains that are important to develop will develop to the maximum. They're already starting this with the child. They're already starting this with the child, okay? And that's sad, okay? That is so sad that they're already trying to make sure that they're looking at these group of kids who has the ability to become what they're looking for in the future. So that lets you know these are long-term plans, people, that we are part witnessing every day. That when these incidents and things are happening, they have been planned these things. They programmed these things long time ago. This is crazy when it comes down to this. It really is. And again, I apologize if I'm offending anyone, and let me know if I have offended you. Put it in a tag. Just say you offended me and be serious about it, and I'll give you an apology. All right. So another part of this is that they start this development. It's a well-known fact that the areas of the brain grow according to how much stimulation is used in the area of the brain receives. And for this reason, the grand dames, which is what they call them in the Illuminati, who are involved in the programming, will spend time drawing and showing faces to the child, seeing if the child can recognize identical faces. Almost any other item will be used. Candy canes with stripes, match the canes with the same number of stripes, trees, pencils. The child must learn to match identical items very early, and even before they can even speak. This is so that they will be able to build mirrors, images in the child's mind. Remember, they're developing a separate alter personality. Okay. Samson said, I remember years ago that was no longer, while she was young. I learned later it's not just that, it was conditional program they went through. Okay. All right. Thank you, Sammy. He said, I'm so non-respectable. I'm being respectful. Okay. So thank you. And so they sending these kids through this programming. And they also senses that are trained for building these mirror images. And for instance, such silks and cottons can be used for the sense of touch. Now, this is for a kid that's even walking. The child will have to make textures, match the textures. The programmers of the grand dame grandmothers will teach the children to have the abilities in copying, reflecting, repeating, echoing, or re-echoing, and mirroring. They will be taught for hours how to re-echo something verbatim. And some of these teaching methods are almost like games. And for instance, 20 pens will be in a box, and the small child is given a short time to decide how many pens are in that box. A certain level of intelligence and creativity is needed for the time to be wasted on programming. You cannot program a mind which is weak. and most of the program are very intelligent. And one study in multipliers said that multipliers were 130 above in IQ, and then mistakenly blamed their multiplicity on their IQ. Attempts to program people with low intelligence or no creativity was discovered to be a waste of time. And methods are used generally to enhance the victim's intelligence and creativity. And Illuminati would also work on enhancing the psychic abilities such as telepathy and clairvoyance. These people are not playing. They're not playing. All right, so like Philly Cat said, let's get this thing up to 100 likes. If you haven't liked the video yet, please check right now. Stop and like the video, okay? Let's come on, give me a little something. Like the video. Like the video. That way. All right. So the head programmers have their own little mottos about building solid structures, which they can like to express to the trainees. And this include an understructured house is like unto a house without walls. A house undisciplined is like unto a house without walls. It will crumble within itself. A house divided against itself will not stand. Where did you hear that programming at? Every day from church, right? Or all of that crap. Y'all get what I'm saying? It's right there. And so we've heard this. Now, much of the structuring that we're going to talk about, but I'm going to move on to a couple other things so we can continue. I want to share with you how they put these kids in different dimensions. And there's 3 different dimensions. There's an E1 dimension, RF dimension, and an AU dimension. And people are born with their original placement with each of these spectrums. Now, you hear what I'm saying? They know that we have different dimensions. They just said it. It's in the programming. I'm going to read that to you again. They're saying that there are 3 major differentiations of the dimensions, and they go through a personality assessment system, and they call these E1 or EI dimension, the RF dimension, and the AU dimension. And people are born with their original placement within each of these dimensions. In other words, there are 3 axes that can be graphed to describe a baby's personality, and the baby may be graphed at I as internalizer, F as flexible, and A as a role adapted. Man, if I told you what all of those mean, we would talk about that later on. But I will tell you that they already know how you're born with these personalities, even what you're going to be. So, for example, the IFA is what they're calling it, and they're saying that a child's programming chart would be labeled some suitable occupations, such as an environmental activist, Pentecostal. Listen, they already know that they're going to send this person to a Pentecostal church reformer or a consumer advocate or an activist against narcotics. They already know when all these babies are picked. They know. They know. It's almost like that movie Precog. We talked about it, Minority Report. So this stuff, man, they're not playing when it comes down to this. And it just makes you wonder why that we can think about it. And like I said, we can go into the personalities, but I'll skip some of that and what they talk about when they get one of these people. So until when they get down to intelligence, when they talk about internalizers, they become withdrawn after several drinks, and uncompensated E's are more likely to become sloppy drunks, granulous. Based on an IE dimension, predictions can also be made for low LSD will affect the person. So remember the CIA was doing LSD stuff in they was testing the MK Ultra, which they got the programming from the Illuminati from this Monarch Programming. Here it is. They already knew. The block design shows whether a person in a regulated R or a flexible F. I mean, this stuff is like crazy. The 3rd dimension, which we talked about, was the role adaptive or role uniform. U person could be defined as charisma, while people tend to ignore that the CIA has 40 patterns that a skilled observer looks like, and these are related to the PSA and this test. So the Illuminati mothers of darkness is what they call them, alters, train, and observation charts that they know what this child is going to do. It's crazy when you think about this program. What's going on, Mark? I haven't talked to you in a while. It's crazy. All right, so we had 93 likes, so we need 100. So 7 more people, please like the video, right? And then we got to share this content. Is pretty much. But let me continue here. It's crazy that we talk about this mind control thing. I don't want to know, and I don't want you to have to relive anything. If some of this stuff again is bringing up, some of your ideas of what's happening and stuff like that. I don't want you to have to experience that. But do y'all all think, as a question for all of you, that there is, in order to keep public submissive and to keep millions of people controlled, to be docile, to follow the rules and all of the stuff, do you think it's just only done because we read a scripture says thou should not steal? What else do you think? Or we should follow the rules, we should pay taxes, or we should not overthrow, certain things or do certain stuff. What do you think about that? Do you think that there's mind control happening? And do you think you could have been possibly subject to it and didn't know it from being a kid on up? Let's get in the chat. Let's do a personal reflection and see. AIP said, I subscribe. Appreciate it. He said, well, yeah, they made the manual. It's not so much making the manual, Hans. It's the Illuminati. It's again, it's what they're doing when we think about it. But anyway, y'all reflect on that comment and post your comments or whatever to that as we keep going. And let me finish, because I got some more good stuff that we're going to get into. I'm going to tell you some of the companies also. Now, here's something that, listen to me closely. Some of you are going to remember this. They were also talking about, they use children, and they always given, listen to this, they always given the Alice in Wonderland script. Who knows about Alice in Wonderland? Tell me right now. Who all know about Alice in the Wonderland? Who all have read it, talked about it, seen it? Who all has done that? Raise your hands. Come on, be honest. Who all have, at some form or another, have gotten a viewpoint of Alice in Wonderland growing up? Yeah. Yes, I am for sure. She says anytime you remember commercial jingles 40 or 50 years later. Yep. There you go. All right. So we got Asante says, there you go. Remember the white rabbit. Remember I told you earlier that the beta and all, they see themselves as white rabbits in Alice in Wonderland. You saw that in the Matrix, right? 100%. 100%. Come on, give me more. I know you guys are not too, come on now. Being honest, you're behind the anonymity of name. Y'all know that, right? You got a username called, Big Bug Bob. You got another one, Too Sweet Cute. So you can be honest. Nobody knows who you are. Y'all know who I am. I'm not gonna tell you Philly cat name is Allison. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna tell you the real name of these people, except Damon is Damon. You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying that, but I'm just telling you, come on, we can go with and say who you are. You know what I'm saying? But have you know anything about this, this Alice in Wonderland? Because I'm going to get in here a little bit, okay? All right, just a little bit. I'm not going to touch too deep on it since y'all don't want to say nothing. All right, so they say they give like 5 children the same Alice in Wonderland script, use the script differently during programming. The programmer takes the child on creativity and works with in unique creativity, okay? The child organizes its images itself, and the programming is hold on. It won't work if the images are someone else's. The child organizes its internal world to suit his or own experience, such as castle, boxes, rooms, and dollhouses. And the PSA type testing will then continue. This is the personal assessment. I'm just letting you know what that is. continued during the early age of the slave's life to make sure that programming has not driven the child crazy or psycho. The child will move down the script, deciding for its own whole life based on the early test. More about how this works, we'll get into it later. And so the EEG test, what they talk about frequently on the children to be programmed, also shows brain tumors, medical problems besides just the brain waves. So they know they be messing people up, okay? They know they be messing up. The PSA test can show how easy a person can be hypnotized. It also is a testing that doesn't reveal a child who can be easily hypnotized or under hypnosis or whatever, or hypnotized. Or am I pronouncing that right? They are, hypnotized. All right. And they will be rejected for programming. And even though the modern drugs can extreme torture, in some case will be applied to a salvage the children they really think they need to program. Man, this is bad. Okay. So the success of this structure comes from the initial testing, which means programs are properly built or whatever foundation the mind has. And the CIA, from all of these different places, I'm not going to mention, companies and everyone else, are into this thing. Let me give you a list of organizations that they said, allegedly, that is part, and they're saying now, today, as we are in the late, let's say, we're probably in the 5th generation. They said, we're probably in the okay, I got you now, bro. We're probably in the 6th generations of people who have been programmed, maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th. We're probably in 5th or 6th generations when they started this. And this is just kind of weird that this is continual on. And they said, now here's the deal. They said that the secret drama involves the moral founding and implementing control over parents, very described illegal drugs, fear, blackmail, and so they will assist them in getting the children programmed. If the motherly instinct is too strong, the mom may be prescribed tranquilizers. What did we hear the word tranquilizers recently? Now, this is CIA program. So you don't think this guy had access to this information? Somebody put in the chat, where did you hear these people saying stuff about tranquilizers? Okay. Where did you hear this? So they're saying if the mother instinct is too strong, the mom can be prescribed tranquilizers so that there is a stable house for the child's front altars to grow up in. So they then go ahead and drug the mom. So how many people say, like Eminem and all these, say they grew up in these houses where their moms were always on drugs, but yet they're programming now in the Illuminati, allegedly. How many stories of success have we heard that where these people today are celebrities? They're controlling masses of people, but they talk about how their parents were always on something, but yet they grew up as though you don't think that that was programming being set in place. You get what I'm saying? You don't think so? All right. So that is something to think about. So let me give you some of these organizations. And then they also said unreliable non-multiple fathers, like I said, are detected by the Illuminati and the multiples who are debriefed in their cases, in their memories of what's happening to their children. So they don't want that. They don't want them remembering nothing that they've done to the kids. How many people you hear about, they talk to my parent, act like they didn't know what happened? Maybe they didn't. Some of them. Maybe we don't know. Huh. I don't know. All right. So here's some organizations that are practicing what they call trauma-based mind control. These groups form the Insider Network. Remember, I told you Illuminati name was the Insiders, right? You have Air Force Intelligence, Army Intelligence, such as the CIC, Atomic Energy Commission, Boeing, British Intelligence, MI6, MI5, Bureau of Narcotics, Bureau of Prisons. The prison system makes perfectly sense, right? Of course they do. Catholic Church, they say allegedly. The CIA, intelligence, charismatic movement, Church of Satan, Church of Scientology, Club 12 and Club 41. To mention that's some more Illuminati. Service, country, music industry. This is on their list, people. Defense Intelligence, Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Of course, we know what that is. Freemasonry, Lodge, G-SPAN, German intelligence, Hollywood. We all know that. Jordan Maxwell, all of them talk about that crazy stuff. Mafia, Ku Klux Klan, the Illuminati, also known as the Circle, the Mossad, Mormon Church, NASA, of course, National Security Agency, National Science Foundation, Naval Intelligence, neo-Nazis, P4. I mean, the list continues. They're talking about different church, satanic hubs, Temple of Power, U.S. Army uses mind control, U.S. Air Force, Veteran Station. And if anybody ever heard of this, we need to do some research. The Werewolf Order. Anybody ever heard of Werewolf Order? Huh? Anybody heard of Werewolf Order? Everybody didn't come from the struggle. That's shit. No, we're not saying everybody came from that. Y'all talking to somebody else. Oh, I'm thinking y'all talking about for me. Yeah. Maybe y'all not talking about me or somebody else. I don't know. I need to read the text. Go back. Rashad, what he says. That'd be the same story for everybody. No, we ain't all got the same story. We all watch TV and don't know. Okay, maybe y'all having another discussion or something. Or was he talking about somebody said? Let me go back. Yeah. All right, let me continue. All right, so Werewolf Order, man. I never heard of that. So if y'all ever heard of that, let me know, because I have not heard of the Werewolf Order. That'd be something to think about, and then some witchcraft groups besides Satanism and Mora, something they said. And then they said the Illuminati preferred the plan as the beginning of the foundation or whatever. Now, I don't know. I have a lot of family been in the military, so I don't know much about that, but I do know one of my cousins was talking about that one of the processes when they was going through basic, and anybody been in the military can confirm this, that they would go through this breaking process where, just kind of break things down to build things back up, so to speak. I don't know how they were. I've never been in the military. So if anybody has experienced that. He said, I was talking about when you said of all the celebs go through the same stuff growing up. No. Okay. That ain't what I was talking about. I said that there are some that you're going to hear of some of those stories. Now, I mentioned a few names when I said Eminem. Some of them have told those stories. It does not. Anything I talk about here anyway is not blanket for every and all of us anyway. And I may use different terms, but not every celebrity. You've seen a lot of celebrities that walked away or said they didn't want to get part of this. They don't go part of it. And there are some true people that go through the process. But they do have their own selection of control mechanism people. In fact, you've all seen them out there. They're giving Illuminati signals, the Monarch signals, and they're controlling millions of people from what they said. So not everybody could go through all of this. So y'all make sure that, not everybody anyway. So anyway, if anybody get offended on things like that, I want to go ahead and let y'all know right now. I need y'all to look into the mirror. So understand if it's something that strikes, this is why when we talk about these certain topics and they strike core, especially get people riled up or whatever, this is what those triggers are that sits out there. And I'm not saying you triggered or anyone, but we all have them somewhere and we just don't know it until whatever, but not in conversations like this. And y'all all know me. So I'm not going to go through any explanation of that. We're all on the same page. But as we come to more of a close on this particular version of the conversation, and we will then get into part 2 of the trauma tomorrow on Forbidden Knowledge. And this is where they talk about the trauma of premature birth. Now, back before that, real quickly, what I've learned through this is that they said when they wanted to create this disassociative children and learn that disassociative babies could be born, this is how they do it. Listen to me. Now, this is, again, is where we talk about the mirror and all those things. They use thin needles or inserted through the mother into the fetus to prick the preborn child. The mothers who are pregnant with these children to be programmed are also severely traumatized during the pregnancy with a whole lot of assortments of traumas, which simultaneously traumatizes the baby, which they carry. And for instance, the father may purposely abandon the pregnant mother in the middle of the forest or blast the mother with loud, frightening music and then follow up with love. So they're saying that these things definitely are there. But when you think about them pricking a pregnant woman and then allowing them to, that baby to feel the trauma within the womb because the baby is hearing and feeling and everything else. This is crazy. He said he was agreeing with what I said. Oh. Well, they don't know I know you, so me and you cool, so I wasn't going at you. So they don't know that he's in Dallas and he's in our club and in part of our whatever. So yeah, maybe they misunderstood that, but I was just going through pretty much. And yeah, but they don't know I know you, Rashad. But I know him, y'all, but personally on the phones too. But so I think that people, what we need to understand and literally understand that we probably passed down some of this training thinking, remember I told y'all how my parent may have taught me certain things and then I passed it down to my kids. And I told y'all the quick story of the reporter that was doing a Thanksgiving dinner. And I saw this on TV probably about 4 years ago. And it was an African-American family. And it was a Thanksgiving tradition. And the mother was cooking this ham and she sliced it all up, with all the slices, put the pineapples all around it. And, how many people have done this, right? She sliced the ham all up and then put all of the pineapples, and you think it is the juice and the flavors. So the reporter asked her about the recipe, and she said it's a family recipe and it makes the ham juicy and all of this stuff. Well, he went to her mother for the Thanksgiving. He was and then she started talking about the recipe, how she got it from her mother, the grandmother who was in the late 90s, who was just so happened living. So finally he went to go talk to the grandmother, and he told her about your granddaughter is carrying on your family recipe, slicing the ham up, making sure the juices and all this fall through and everything else. The lady bust out laughing, dude. She was just cracking up. And he's like, what's the family? He said, child. She said, child, there ain't no darn family recipe. She said, back then, when you bought a ham, it was so big and we only had little pots to fit in the little stoves. We had to cut it up to make it fit into the pan to get into the oven. You get it? And he was just, I was sitting here just floored. So here it is. The mother was doing it because she saw her mother, and the daughter was doing it because her mother, thinking it's a family recipe to make the ham juicier. When the grandmother said, no, I did it because back in the day, I had a small ass stove and I couldn't get the ham in there. I had to cut it up. And so think about how many things that we passed down generation to generation because we think, or we saw our parents, or we saw somebody using it. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those things that do that. So tomorrow's video on Forbidden Knowledge, we're going to start with the trauma of the premature birth. Premature birth is important because the natural occurring events around preemies ensure that the child is naturally traumatized. So they say that they try to induce these things or make these things happen. This is crazy. Specialized drugs I mean, man, there's some badass people out there. There are some people out there that we need to really, really just understand what is happening. And I think it's one of those things about that's crazy. It's really crazy. And when it comes down to that. So when we think about the generational occult bloodlines, remember that we was talking about that. And then also I found out that the Illuminati would go, and I said a little earlier, they will go to Indian places and crossbreed or hybrid so they can breed with Indians, but they only picked the ones that they knew was in the generational prayers and knew how to summon and get into the spirit realm. They wanted this genetics with bloodline. They wanted these type of genetics. Now you know when you find out people coming up missing or things are happening because of certain bloodlines, and when you see Stranger Things 11 and all these special people that they have in these buildings and different stuff because of, and I think what was that last movie was on was pretty good. I haven't seen season 2, but it was called it was out of Britain somewhere, but it was a brother made the series. Everybody had these superpowers. Y'all remember that? It was a nice. It ended with symbols and burning fire circles, but the guy, each one of them could fly. I think the other one can teleport. The other ones were strong or something. I don't know if y'all remember the movie or whatever it was, but it was God, what was the name of it? Y'all probably seen it. And yeah, but it was really, really good. I thought they would have Supercell. Oh my God, that was really good. I thought they would at least have a season 2 by now because that thing was really good. But it was probably so much truth in that because the whole thing was based around genetics of certain blood types and stuff that people had and that they were looking for that had genetic markers for superpower. And I thought that was really crazy. Yeah, so he said, right path, Roderick, going to be a new title in the future. All right, so tomorrow, just to go back up here, we're going to be on Forbidden Knowledge Live, and we're going to part 2 of this, and it'll be the trauma of the premature birth. So if you enjoy that, this is just a setup for many things to come in the future. Once we get deeper into the Monarch programming and start, what I'm hoping is that by the time we finish some of these series, we all as a unit will be able to discover what is happening out there. And then all of a sudden you will use the 800 number and start calling in, texting links. Hey, look at that. You seen a monarch butterfly on this person, and look at them, the one eye of what they're doing. And they did this tonight. And we can start identifying this stuff in real time. So remember, you can call me on this number. You can send links, photos, text to it. It's an 800 number. It comes to me, and then I can reply back. And then eventually, as we get a lot more, then we will do a lot of more things there. And so I'm really excited about that. Another thing real quickly, I don't know if any of you have got a copy, but remember the Book of Sacred Secrets is still up on the website, man. This is an ebook. You would have to download it, but it's going to teach a lot of stuff. It is really deep. And so if you have not gotten some of the knowledge, you might want to go and get you a copy of it. It will be right here on, and like I said, you can learn about all your chakras. There's a lot of sacred stuff, the Christ oil. You saw the symbols of the Baphomet and all the different symbols, 666. It's teaching a lot of stuff on symbolism. Just go get your copy of it. It's downloaded. You go to that website. It'll be coming down pretty soon. It has helped not thousands. I wish it did. It helped a lot of people though. And pretty much you get that from the merch site. But again, it's a download, so it's not going to be mailed. You download it. I bought this little booklet from Amazon for like $6, and then I just printed it up. You're going to learn about the astro projecting, cosmetologies. You're going to learn different stuff, the celestial energy, celestial rulership. You can download it, and this will be something you need to give to your kids, and just let them learn this stuff, man, because they're not going to find this in school or anywhere else. The Book of Sacred Secrets. Make sure y'all go ahead and do that. Also, let's see. Again, tomorrow we will do that glass globe. Oh yeah. So I got 2 people that I want to thank that have contributed to my birthday. And just you 2 are just so fabulous people. I just want to thank you for doing it. The link is in the description, and he also just put it up there in the chat too. But I want to thank, Ashante says she purchased a while back. Great. Thank you. So if you have contributed to the birthday, or knowing that this is a community funded show, I'll be into it now, so I forget to put the little Cash App up there. But the funny part about it, I got a Cash App today from somebody who's in the audience right before the show started. He says, I'm just doing your Cash App test before the show starts, so you know the shit works. Appreciate you, brother. I was cracking up when I got your message. Yeah, I was cracking up. It was funny. It was really fucking funny. But on point though. It was, and I appreciate it. And so I thank you. So all right, tomorrow, that website is on a different way. It's whybigSecret.com/merch. And you can see a couple of books there, but that one is the Book of the Sacred Secrets. Cash App is right there. I'm gonna put it up on the screen there at $ Why the Big Secret and everything else. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight. And tomorrow, 8:00 on Forbidden Knowledge, we will be there. And yep, you can do PayPal as well. And we will be on Forbidden Knowledge live. So make sure y'all come and support the live stream tomorrow and give me some kudos in the chat, because that chat be moving really fast, really freaking fast tomorrow. So, hundreds of people will be there, and it's pretty big, and all of that good stuff. All right, y'all, we're out. Let's roll it. Where is my thing?
Peace and harmony. I think we're being set up for something very serious and very big by some very powerful secret societies that very well could have extraterrestrial or otherworld intelligence guiding it. I am very fearful for the world we live in, because we bought it hook, line, and sinker, and all over the world we have accepted the authority as truth rather than truth as the authority. It is going to require intellect, knowledge, study, and making a stand for the first time not to accept the things which your government gives you, which your religions give you, and which the authorities give you. Because as far as I'm concerned, I have a very big problem with anyone called an authority, because they're always...